Well, hello, everyone. My name is Mike Bowers. I'm the director of the Ohio Small Business Development Center at Columbus State Community College. I want to welcome you to today's edition of the Small Business Spotlight program. This program is designed to really have interactions with small business owners and entrepreneurs that really are exactly where you are if you are in the small business space. And we'll go through a number of things from their origin stories to tips and tricks that they may have picked up over the years. And we're really excited about this. This is our second episode of this, and the first one was magnificent. I'm sure today will be just as good. We do hold these every month, and they are live on the second Thursday of each month. And today, however, we did move it. It is on a very special day. I've spared no expense with the graphics. Happy SBDC Day. That is today on a national basis. And it's just an opportunity for us to showcase some of the things that the SBDC does. So we decided to move this program to today. There's actually a number of different programs going on from the Small Business Development Centers all across the country, and there's practically 1,000 SBDCs around the country. So we are happy to be part of that, and we want you all to know that we are here as a Small Business Development Center to, help you out, whatever you may need to start, build, grow your business, whatever that happens to be. Our advising services as an SBDC are free of charge. And we do a number of training events that can help you kind of move forward in your journey quicker. So we're happy to be here on SBDC Day. And we are really happy to have our guest today. We have TJ Johnson from Tra'Bian Entreprises. So TJ, thank you for being here. This is going to be a great conversation. And just to point out, if anybody has any questions as we go through here, feel free to put those in the chat. I have the chat up. Bruce Walters from our team is here. He's got the chat up. So we'll be sure to ask these questions if we have any. And if you do have questions, do not hesitate to bring those up. So TJ, again, thank you for being here. TJ, I got to know her. We are both at the Dublin Entrepreneurial Center at the DEC. She has an office space here. I have an office space here. Obviously, I also have an office space at Columbus State Community College, but have gotten the opportunity to speak to her and interact with her and get a little bit more about her business. So TJ, thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. Michael, thank you for that warm introduction. Good morning, everyone, on this cold Wednesday, right? Yeah. My name is TJ Johnson. I'm the president and CEO of Tra'Bian Entreprises. We're an information technology solutions company headquartered in Dublin, Ohio, located at the DEC, the Dublin Entrepreneurial Center, Mike had alluded to earlier. We specialize in information technology solutions. So we specialize in information technology staffing and artificial intelligence, by the way of providing chatbot solutions to organizations and agencies that are looking to integrate their customer service platform with a bot to answer frequently asked questions. We specialize in information technology staffing. So if you're a corporation, agency, or a hiring manager and you're looking for workforce talent, we are able to provide that talent, whether it's entry level or mid to senior. That talent could be, .NET developers, business analysts, technical writers, data warehousing, any type of technology talent that a organization or a hiring manager procurement team would need. So why don't I share a little bit about how I ended up as president of Tra'Bian Enterprises. It's early in the morning. It's always great time. Is it still early? No, it's the early afternoon.
It's afternoon now.
It's early afternoon, so it's always a good time for a great story, right?
That's right.
So, so I attended Ohio University. I majored in political science, pre-law. After graduating from OU, go Bobcats, I pursued my master's in American public policy, Soviet Union politics, right? So you're probably saying to yourself, where is the information technology? Where's the computers, right? All I hear is political science, and you would be absolutely right. Upon leaving Ohio State, I pursued a career in state government. So I am a state employee at heart. I work for the Office of Budget and Management, the Department of Administrative Services, the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency, and the Attorney General's office. In the AG's office, I was a political appointment to the Attorney General at the time. As a political appointment, you're at the discretion of, for me, I was at the discretion of the Attorney General. So you've probably seen it in the past where political appointments to the President of the United States, when the President either leaves office or doesn't win election, that whole team has to leave with the President. Well, that was us at the AG's office. He didn't win his bid for governor, so we were out of a job. Instead of, getting on unemployment, like a lot of people do, and wait for that paycheck to come in the mail, I decided that it would be better for me to kind of tempt my way back into my next career because, I majored in political science. I didn't know what I was going to do next. So I said, just find out what the world has to offer you. So I signed up with a number of temporary services, and they put me on a number of assignments. But one day they asked me to go to an information technology solutions company. They needed a receptionist while their receptionist was on maternity leave. And I said, sure, why not? So they dumped my resume down because the last opportunity I had, I was the chief investigator of the Ohio Attorney General's office over 87 counties. There was no way they were going to hire me as a receptionist as a temporary, right? So the temp service dumped my resume down. And so here I am as a receptionist in this IT company. And so I have to always put on that receptionist hat, right? And it's humbling, right? Because now I'm at the bottom working my way back up to the top. So I'm at the receptionist desk, and I'm offering people coffee. I'm talking, I'm chief secretary. Love secretaries, respect them. And I was humbled to be in the role for this company. But during the time I was there for an entire week. Their team was struggling with putting this RFP together, this bid, and the bid was for the state of Ohio. State of Ohio. I've been in the state of Ohio for 8 years, so I could probably put that proposal together in my sleep, right? But I had to keep reminding myself, you're here in the capacity of a secretary. So I had to take a deep breath and say, man your posts, answer that phone, leave them to that RFP. But if you know me, I just couldn't. I just couldn't. I couldn't do it. I went into that conference room and made some recommendations and some suggestions. Next thing I know, they were tossing me the keys and they were on their way to a bar. They left. They left me in that office all by myself, and I was horrified. I had only been there a week, right? And there was 3 people in the conference room. How do you just toss a stranger the keys to the paradise and leave and head to the bar? So I put the proposal together, but I was scared. I turned around, I saw all these desktops, all this hardware, all this box, all this tech. And I was like, oh my God, if something comes up missing, they're going to blame the Black girl. So I was like, let me check the windows. Let me check and make sure all the doors are locked. So I put the proposal together. I remember getting to the light on my way downtown because you had to submit the proposal to the Department of Administrative Services to get a timestamp. This was back before email, if I'm dating myself. I remember getting to the light, getting real paranoid, like, oh my God, I forgot to lock the door. So I ran back, so I drove back to the company, and it was just me being paranoid. It was me just, that whole, they're going to blame me if something comes up missing. But the door was locked. I went and filed it, came back, worked probably for another 12 weeks. And then I was off to my next assignment. About 3 months later, I get a call from this tech company. They said, have you identified a new career yet? And I said, no, I'm still out here temping. They said, could you please come back? We'd like to have a conversation with you. And so I said, okay, this is going to be an opportunity for be a director, a manager, a VP. So I met with 2 partners, and I met with one of them in his office, and he was like, well, we'd like to offer you a job as an IT technical recruiter. I said, a what? He said, an IT technical recruiter. I said, but I don't want to be a recruiter. And so he said, hold on one second. And both partners took me into the conference room and locked the door. And I said, what kind of freaky stuff is going on? What kind of job are they planning to offer me, locking the door? So I held my cool and I sat down in a chair across from them, and they sat there and they showed me everything in my resume that qualified me to be a technical recruiter. I said, but I don't want to be a technical recruiter. They said, well, how much money do you want to make? And I told them. They said, well, we'll make that your base. I said, excuse me. They said, we'll make that your base because this position has 6-figure potential. So that's how I ended up in information technology. I was locked in a room by 2 white guys that demanded that I stay there and work. But I love that story because that is where IT entered my life. And a lot of people who hear about information technology are afraid of tech. And I get it, because I moved from political science into tech by 2 men who saw that I was more than capable of crossing into a new industry and being successful. So I worked my way up from a recruiter to sales to director. Now I'm running a tech company. You got to love America and the American dream.
Absolutely. And what's interesting to me when you tell that story is that, you don't have, like you said, you don't have a degree in technology. You don't, you're not an IT person per se. And we run into a lot of people that, I want to start a business, but, I don't have a business degree, or I don't, or I want to do something in technology, but I don't really know that much about technology. And I think that while there is certainly value to getting a college degree, I think a lot of times, depending, especially in the entrepreneurship space, it's about developing your critical thinking skills and your ability to kind of see opportunities and deal with those types of opportunities. And, and I don't know what your thoughts are as it relates to, education. Obviously I work at Columbus State, so we're all about education, but, that's my thought. I don't want people getting hung up that I can't do something because I don't have a degree in it.
Absolutely. And that's my story, right? Because my biggest fear in getting into information technology was that I was self-taught on computers, right? I taught myself how to work a computer when I worked for the Department of Administrative Services. And again, this was back before, technology as we know it. So this is before cell phones. This is before email. I mean, the technology that we were using back then were beepers. So that kind of gives you an idea of the limited technology that we were working with. And the first computer that I learned technology on was a Wang, W-A-N-G. It was a Wang PC. If you ever Google that, you'll see that computer looks like a microwave with a screen. I mean, so I taught myself on a Wang PC, and then now I'm being immersed in a technology in a in an industry that I number one, didn't know existed, and number two, didn't know I could be successful in. So it's education comes in so many forms, Mike, as
Yeah.
you know. There's self-taught education, there's the invested education that these men had. You know, they had the knowledge, and then they became they knowledge transferred that information into me. And so there's so many ways you can gain knowledge to be successful in any industry, whether it's college taught or not.
Yeah. And I think that's the nice thing about, where we are today. I mean, I started similar to you. I mean, I remember taking grants and getting in the car and trying to drive down to the Rife Center and trying to get into the office. And here's my thing at, 2 seconds before it was due. But, now there is so many other options to gain knowledge about how you want to do things. I mean, there's, you got to find the right ones, but I mean, you can go to YouTube videos on different things. You can self-teach, a lot of times. LinkedIn has a lot of things, their LinkedIn learning programs and stuff that'll allow you to really kind of get yourself up from a technical standpoint about what you need to do. And you don't really need to be, held back because of that. But I think the thing that I'd be interested in your thoughts. So you're into this now, you're going to do, IT recruiting and things are moving forward. What were your thoughts in terms of, I mean, did you sense any extra risk associated with that? Were you, how did you deal with this kind of entrepreneurial sense versus working for the government, which, other than, like you said, if your administration goes out, you go out, but otherwise, and that's not the case with everybody, because not everybody is that in that position. If you're working for the government, that tends to be, a lot safer.
Right.
What are your thoughts in terms of kind of the risk assessments and things of that nature associated with being an entrepreneur?
So, the risk came. So you have to be, not afraid to take risks, right?
Right.
And so I became a risk taker through my service with government because I was a political appointment of the previous Attorney General.
Okay.
And so when the previous Attorney General ran for another state agency, I ended up working as a political appointment for the next Attorney General. So there's that risk there. The risk is I hope to do 4 years, but then there's the chance that you may be fortunate enough to do 4 years, and you might be fortunate enough to do 8, right? 8 is the max. So the risk comes with, working for an elected official in the capacity as a political appointment. So there's that risk there. So I was kind of accustomed to the risk. Now, there was an additional piece to the story. So I was working in information technology up until 2008, and then the financial crisis occurred, right? And so I was with a startup at the time. And so I ended up back on the market and became a software trainer for Blue Cross Blue Shield. It was during that time that I ran into a customer that I had serviced from my previous employment with the tech company. And the employer, the client ran into me and said, "You know what, TJ, we've been looking all over for you." And I said, "Oh, okay. Was there something, when the company went under, was there something that you didn't get from us?" And he said, no. He said, "I want you to know that the customer service that you provided to us was invaluable. Working with you saved us time. You were a problem solver. The personal experience that you provided to us, we cannot find in any place and anyone. If you can provide us with that same level of service, we will believe in you." And so they that client actually was what laid the groundwork and the foundation for Tra'Bian Enterprises. And so I was working with this client while I was working as a software trainer for Blue Cross Blue Shield. So there was some risk there, right? Because I'm working with this client, and I'm kind of sharpening my teeth on being a small business owner and not knowing exactly how to be a small business owner, because they approached me, right? My dream was to be a Supreme Court justice, right? This was before Clarence Thomas. I wanted to have that job and enforce laws. That was the future for TJ. Not having a client meet me in the middle of the street while I was walking saying, we need you, can you help us? So there was some risk there, because it wasn't where I thought I was supposed to be. It wasn't the career path that I had sought, and yet it was an opportunity for me to be a business owner with no walls, with no foundation. And so I didn't want to let them down. So I began to create a business around the service that I was providing to them. And there was great risk in that, right? Because I didn't know how to be a business owner. They were asking me to be a tech owner. I didn't major in technology. So there was that fear, right, of not being enough, not having enough experience, not having enough knowledge. And now they're asking me to service them on a tech level. And I just want to be a state government to serve people, right? So I just want to be a software trainer for Blue Cross Blue Shield. So there was some big risk in creating this business while they were believing in me in motion, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's kind of jump ahead. So, you've gotten a business, you guys are doing your thing. Things are going well. Then we get to 2020, and we've got the whole COVID thing, and a lot of uncertainty. And with the kind of work that you were doing, it would seem to me that this uncertainty impacting your clients and the people you would work with, which would then impact your business. So you want to talk a little bit about your experience in dealing through that got you from there to where you are today?
COVID. So, when you say the word COVID, you almost have to exhale, right? Because never in your wildest dreams would you anticipate that you would live in a world that would experience a horrific tragedy such as that in your lifetime, right? So for me, I did like everyone did globally. We all panicked, right? We were uncertain as to whether we were going to even live to see tomorrow. I mean, when I think COVID, and every time I mention the word COVID, I'm watching TV, seeing those refrigerated trucks in New York City, where they were just putting, people, loved ones in these trucks because they just didn't have any place to put them. And people were just expiring so quickly. So when you are working within an environment that's that tragic, it just caused panic globally. So first I want to talk about professional, right? Because there's a small line between professional and business when you're a business owner, right? There's the line it sometimes get blurred when you're from your professional and your personal side. So from the professional side, we lost revenue. We're a staffing company. Corporations panicked, that they had to close business. People initially couldn't even work from home in some sectors, right? Because remote accessibility hadn't even been set up yet. No one knew what the future of work was going to look like. So we lost revenue because we were having an incredible record year. We came into 2020, our first quarter was through the roof. This was going to be the best year ever. And then COVID hit. And so they were not only laying off, one person, they were laying off teams. So we were losing people like leaves fall off a tree in the fall, and it was tragic. And so in addition to laying off people, we started getting messages from our clients that, and we're talking major corporations, we cannot pay you on time. What? You're a corporation. How do you not pay a small business on time? So then we were being slow paid. So our clients that were paying us in 30 days turned around, they're paying us 120 days net. And so we lost revenue coming into the business. I had employees to pay. I had contractors to pay. I think the saving grace for us was because prior to COVID, we had built a relationship with the banks and had a line of credit that we relied on and that we weren't really using. It was our safety net. But even that line of credit we were running low on the line of credit because the money wasn't coming in from our customers. So in addition to all that going on the business side, I was a caregiver to my 90-year-old mother. And so, I had to make sure that she didn't catch COVID. I had to make sure her environment was safe. I had to make sure that we were able to get food. I felt like a warrior. I'd get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go to the grocery store early in the morning and shop late at night when there were less people, because people were fighting over toilet paper, fighting over milk. The environment outside your home wasn't safe, not just due to COVID, but because people were scared. And so everybody freaked out, corporations, businesses, and small businesses were just kind of there weathering the storm, taking the brunt of all of it. And for me, I was being hit from all sides because of my commitment to my baby, which was my business, my commitment to my mother, which was my responsibility, right? And so, Washington walked in. Whew. Let me tell you, I had never been so happy to see government, right? I had never been, because, I think government, I love government. I worked in government, but I think sometimes government, I think and know in my heart, we ask government to do way too much, right? Some of that stuff we as people should be able to do, or our elected officials should be able to do, or organizations should be able to do. Let me get off my political soapbox. But we ask government to do way too much. But in this case, they did enough. So that Paycheck Protection Program was a saving grace for us. We were able to use that PPP to sustain our business so that we could keep our employees. It helped us bridge the gap between revenue and the lack of revenue that we were getting from our corporations. During COVID, Tra'Bian Entreprises, I tell people we weren't in the boat, in the safety boat, in the canoe, but we were in the water, right? Holding on to the boat. Everybody had drowned, but we were at least treading water, holding on. We weren't in the boat. We had been knocked out of the boat. So me and my team were in the water. I'm like, come on, y'all, we're gonna have to dog pedal here, So that's kind of how we got through COVID. It was traumatic for me being that I was hit from all sides. But I can honestly say that it was all worth it because we're still standing.
Right. So based on what you went through there, your experience of that to where you're at now, what has changed from 2019 to 2023, and what maybe some lessons learned from there that's allowed you to create a stronger business in 2023?
Wow, that's a great question. So in 2020, we flatlined, right?
Yeah.
In 2021, we started to feel a pulse, right? The business was still alive. What do the medics use when they're trying to resuscitate people? The boom,
Yeah.
that boom thing.
I know what you're talking about.
Right. So in 2021, I felt like the business had boomed, you know, they had given us a shock. And so we got the pulse. And in 2023, we leveled out, right? So the dust started to settle. And then now this year we're in an upward swing. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Lessons learned. So because there's that line between personal, as a business owner, there's that thin line between, you know, your personal life and your business life, because your business is your baby, so it's kind of personal. So personally, I learned that you can't take anything for granted, right? And that the things that we take for granted are priceless. So the things that we spend all of our money on have really no value, and we give it so much value. So personally, I just learned to appreciate great health, family, love, food, toilet paper,
Toilet paper.
human touch,
Yeah.
and being able to go to a grocery store and have the products that you need and want available when you need them. On a business side, I appreciate and understand the importance of networks, right? There's no way we could have made it through COVID without the personal networks that we had built and the relationships that we had previously established with the bank. Organizations like the Ohio Department of Development, they have a Minority Business Development Center. They helped us get our paperwork together to present to the bank so that we could get funding. And they established that relationship early. So we weren't like a lot of businesses that were scrambling to build the relationship to have access to funding to stay alive. MBAC, the Minority Business Assistance Center, is another agency that provided tools and assistance during trying times. ECDI, Economic Community Development Institute, as well as the SBA. So these organizations were there at our darkest times, providing us with training and resources and advice and seminars and programs. So what I learned the most is you have to have a support base, you have to have a support network, not because you're setting it up in hopes of something happening, but because in order to sustain your business, it's always great to have a foundation built on network support.
Absolutely. So, you know, we talked about, you know, kind of your experience, especially early on, trying to get that line of credit to get going and different things of that nature. And the connections with the Ohio Department of Development, with Alan McConnell, who at the time was there, working on that. We all know Alan, and he's currently, I believe, with Ohio Credit Union. But, you know, we work with them, you know, quite a bit, because again, it's that personal service, I think, that really sets up, makes a difference. I know that we work pretty closely with the Ohio Department of Development. They've got a variety of different minority loan programs that we work with. We work with all the people that you mentioned, and all of these people, really just to try to figure out, you know, if the business needs funding, if the business needs support, how do we help them along that path to do that? And I do want to mention that we have another program similar to this, called Small Business Breakthroughs. And on the 23rd of March, we're going to be talking all about funding and all about getting, you know, money. How do you prep? How do you work with the financial institution? How do you work with the state? How do you work with all these different things? And how do you navigate that path? So we'll have Ellen Harvey and Kevin Hammond from our team on, and we're going to go through a lot of details as it relates to that. So a lot of great information there. I do want to kind of ask you, because you mentioned the MBAC and things of that nature. So what is your thoughts and what recommendations do you have as it relates to business certification? Because we've done different programmings. We do a lot of work with the MBAC. We do a lot of work with partners to support those types of things. But what is your thoughts around, you know, business certification, what you need to do, how you need to do, what you need to be careful with, And then from there, the actual government contracting part, because it's getting certified by itself. All it does is cause you a lot of work and some money to get it done. The next step is the contracting part.
Absolutely. Great question. So when we talk about certifications, it's intimidating, right? When people hear the process of getting certified, the unknown scares them. I want to put a plug in for the Ohio Small Business Development Center. Mike, you guys at Columbus State Community College. When I embarked, as I stated earlier, in creating the framework around Tra'Bian Enterprises, I didn't know what I didn't know. And so I had attended a training session at the DEC, the Dublin Entrepreneurial Center, hosted by the Small Business Development Center. And it was around certification. And they invited the attendees to come to Columbus State, and they would sit there with them on the computer and help them get certified. So my first certification came through the assistance of the Ohio Small Business Development Center. And it was agonizing, and it was time consuming, and it was labor intensive, but it was well worth it. And it was well worth it knowing that this organization invested enough in me and my future of my business to work with me to help me get certified. And from that first certification, I was able to obtain other certifications. The wonderful thing about the certification process is the first certification that you go after, the information and the content that you're required to provide is astronomical, right? I shared with Michael that it was like putting together a small Bible. You have to provide financial documents, 3 years of taxes, your personal net statement, your savings. They really dive deep into your personal finances and your business finances, and it's intimidating. And several people refuse to get certified because they don't want people going into their private financial wellness. But I'm here to tell you that it's worth it, and understand that typically if one agency collects that information, now there's a unified process where if you have an MBE with the state of Ohio, which is free, that information can be transferred to another agency, and you only have to complete a few documents. So it's not as rigorous as it used to be, where you had to collect all that same information, make copies, and send it to an agency. They've streamlined it a lot for you. Another reason it's important to get your certification is plain and simple. It gives you access, right? A lot of the certifications that you get are free. I know that, Tra'Bian Entreprises is in the government space. So the MBE certification that you get through the Department of Administrative Service is free. But we also pay through a private sector organization, Ohio Minority Supplier Development Council. It's a membership organization. They provide an MBE that allows us access to opportunities in the corporate space. So again, access. What a lot of people don't know are corporations allocate a specific amount of money in which they'll do business with minorities. With the state of Ohio, 15% of their dollars are spent specifically with minorities, and there are some state agencies where that percentage is higher. You have access to decision makers, right? So when you have an MBE, you're on a VIP list, and you're no longer just out here in the streets trying to figure out who should I talk to, where are these people, how can I engage? Your certification can connect you to those networks. The other advantage of being an MBE, a certified MBE, is you're able to do business with other certified MBEs. So there's so much benefit in being a certified business. whether it's a minority business enterprise, which is referred to as an MBE, or a WBE, which is a women business enterprise. A lot of these certifications, again, are free. They give you the access. Companies are always looking to do business with minority businesses, that's veteran, Asian, Indian, African Americans, and every organization that you're registered as an MBE, they have a database. And when people and corporations are looking to do business with MBEs, they're going to that database. 1% of our business is generated by companies that are looking for minority businesses, and they find us on one of those databases. So these are just some reasons why and why it's so important to get certified or get your first certification, so that you can get access to a realm of opportunities that exist beyond your business just because you're certified. And the last point that I'll make in regards to certifications are corporations are hesitant to do business with Joe Smo on the street, right? Your certification tells companies that the reason you're supplying them with all this information is so the state or the county can review your documents and give you that seal of approval. They can only give you that seal of approval if they know your documents and read through them. Corporations, once they see that seal of approval, feel more comfortable and confident in doing business with you as a minority business, as a small business, as a woman-owned business. So there's value in being certified.
Right. And, you know, I think the other thing that's really important to think about when you think about certifications, the point around certification is to make sure that if a business says it's a minority-owned small business, that it's a minority-owned and operated by, business. And
Absolutely.
that's really what it is. So they're going through all of this stuff so that when you do apply for a contract through the government knows, okay, yeah, you're legit. And, or, through private, you're legit, they don't have to go do all that stuff themselves. It's already been done.
Absolutely.
And that's, I think, where a big value of this. The other thing, did you want to mention, because you mentioned to me the importance of not letting these things lapse.
Yes. So, so we have 10 certifications. And so we actually have to put our certifications on their own schedule. And, we function in so many industries. So we're in, rail, train, air. So there's a certification that gets you access and access to those types of contracts. So that's a DBE. Then we're in different states, so each state has their own certification. If you want the set aside money, right? If you want that 15% or 20% that's allocated to small businesses. Now, I haven't forgotten your question, but I just wanted to add that as you're getting certified, understand that you have access to 15 to 20% of money that's allocated for small businesses, but there's still 80% that's still on the table. So just know that if you are going through an MBE or diversity and inclusion program through a corporation, there's still money outside that program. So just don't always pigeonhole yourself in the 15 to 20%. Now, going back to your question, Michael, regarding our certification and lapsing of your certification, we put them on a schedule so that we wouldn't lapse, because again, you're putting a Bible together of your personal and business finances, and it really becomes a Bible. And so if you lapse, you have to collect all that information again. And so we learned the hard way. And then you have to go through the whole approval process, and that takes maybe a month or two. So we put our certifications on a cycle 2 months before they're up for expiration, so that we can complete the 2 sheets of paper, right, and get that notarized versus the Bible that we would have to recreate if we allow it to lapse. So it's important to, if you have a certification, to put it on the schedule so that you can renew it without all the headaches of having to complete the whole process and go through it all over again. And it causes, one lapse causes a lapse with all the other ones, especially if you're using the unified process where I have a MBE with the state, which is contingent, connected to the unification connection with the city. If you let one lapse, then they all lapse, and that becomes the nightmare. So
right. Yeah, absolutely. So great input, great advice. So let's kind of take it maybe away from, the very specifics about Tra'Bian. What is you as a CEO? I mean, what's a normal day look like for you? What do you do on a regular kind of basis? I mean, we had talked about even getting together physically to do this, and you picked up a meeting at 8 this morning, and it just made more sense to kind of do it this way, which is fine. But, that happens,
So as a business owner, I find that it's great to have a schedule, right? So, and if you have a schedule as a business owner, it's easier to intercept things because, Mike's asking me what a normal day is, and I'm still waiting to find what normal is, right?
Right.
Business owner. So our days are really, we hope that they're normal, but a lot of it just really depends on what's going on within the business. So I'll give you what I would like a normal day to be for me in the business.
Yeah.
So to be able to come in the morning, this would be a normal day to be able to relax, have a cup of coffee, and read some technology journal, find out what's happening with Google and Yahoo and Netflix, and just, understanding the IT market and what's happening and what's happened in that day. The next part of my day would be to check in with my sales team, my recruitment team, make sure our consultants are happy, make sure our managers are happy, and then, check emails, and then proceed with sales. Because as the president, we still, as the guider of the ship, we still have a responsibility to sell, and that's what I do. I spend a lot of time selling. I spend a lot of time making contacts. I spend a lot of time feeding the pipeline and assisting and feeding the sales pipeline with my teams. You can never do enough selling, right? And as the president, I am the face of the organization, and so it's easier for me sometimes to open the door to business because people sense my passion. People know how important Tra'Bian Enterprises is to me. And so it's sometimes easier for the president to be the face and get the business and then pass it on to their teams to develop the pipelines and to actually acquire the business. And then constantly looking, if I'm not selling, then I'm constantly looking for opportunities to team, to partner, looking for RFPs, and building relationships, right? So that Tra'Bian Enterprises can be sustained, whether that's looking for grant money, looking for, technology moves so quickly. So there is a small percentage of my time that's spent looking for new niche work, right? Because innovation moves so quickly and we have to move with the highway and sustain through that innovation by evolving. And so there's a portion of that that's spent on R&D, research and development. Where we are now, it's not where Tra'Bian Enterprises is going to be in 5 or 10 years. And so it's also being that visionary and identifying what's new, what's the latest, and what does the future hold for technology and tech. And then near my end of the day, I return phone calls
Mhm.
and connect to the people who have been patiently waiting for my call within 24 to 48 hours.
Right, right.
And then I eat something, okay? I'm working on that, okay?
Yeah,
Then that's when I start to get hungry. But yeah, so I'm working on acclimating food within that process.
right. And you mentioned to me too, I think a lot of people, just in general, they get into this, how do I do the planning? What do I need to do? And, they got their Outlook calendars and they got this and they got all this technology, you got your phones, you got the reminders, you got all this stuff. But you told me that your planning really is paper based.
I'm old school. So I do both.
Yeah.
We have an incredible CRM system that has all the bells and whistles and provides us with all the analytics. So the business reports to the CRM. Because I'm in technology, I understand that technology can be fallible. And knowing that, I always like to keep, especially in regards to scheduling, I like to keep a paper backup. Because you can't go wrong with, you'll see me if I schedule something, yes, it goes into Outlook, but it also goes into my hard calendar because I don't look at Outlook on the weekends. On the weekends, I'm planning off my hard calendar, looking at my schedule for the weekend and then preparing for that next week. So yeah, I'm old school. I like to do, I'm an old school techie, right? So I do the techie stuff, but I always have an old school paper backup.
Yeah. And I think that when you talk about planning, that's this proactive component of what is going to make a difference, what's most important, things like that, versus just being driven by the appointments that are on your Outlook calendar. I mean, that's obviously part of it, but you really got to be able to, look and think. You talk about being, kind of that visionary and looking for what's next. That's really important for a small business.
Absolutely.
So, getting close here. It's amazing to me how fast this goes. So, talk a little bit about, as an entrepreneur, we have folks that are live with us today. We have people that'll be on watching us on YouTube. What motivates you as the business owner, you as TJ, what motivates you about your business? What are you passionate about that really keeps you moving?
So you heard my story. So, this is where God wanted me. So it wasn't a vision for TJ Johnson. My path was A route, God's path was B route. So for me, it's understanding that even though you may not be on the course that you want and that has established for yourself, that sometime life takes you down another path and you have to surrender to that, right? I could have continued to fight tech, but I'm excited now about what's been placed on my plate. And for the longest, I couldn't, when I entered into tech, I thought it was just, these guys that locked me in a room that just kind of wanted me to help them out. I didn't understand what tech was going to mean to me personally. And so prior to me establishing Tra'Bian Entreprises, I was a technical recruiter. And there was a lady, her name was Linda, and she was in California. She had family here in Columbus, Ohio. And she wanted desperately to get back to her family. And I contacted Linda and was able to facilitate an opportunity back in Ohio for her. And when I shared with her that she had gotten a job, she started crying because she had been away from her family for 8 months. She had been away from her kids, her dog, her husband. And when she started crying, it broke my heart that someone would have to go all the way to California to support the family here in Ohio. So it was at that moment I realized that staffing had a different meaning for me. So that was my first heart snag. The second one came when I was talking to a gentleman just about recommending him for an opportunity, submitting him. And in the middle of the conversation, he started screaming like a girl. I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? While we were talking, they were repossessing his car. And so I would scream too. And so Mike, that's not funny. But it was these two defining moments that made me realize that staffing for me was more of a ministry, right? I began to look at staffing as a means to an end for a lot of people. Helping someone gain employment is helping them feed their kids, helping them send their kids to college. It's helping them pay their car note. It's helping them, provide for their home when they're at home with their family. And so staffing became a ministry, and it was something that I enjoyed doing. And it motivated me to stay in staffing because it wasn't about bodies throwing resumes against the wall. It wasn't about bodies and seats, right? It became about helping people get the things that they need and want out of life and helping them reach their dreams. And so that mission is why I'm still in the industry. The other reason from a business owner perspective is information technology is known as a white boys country club. 83% are made of white guys, 14% foreign nationals, 7% African Americans, 5% of those African Americans are women, and 0.02% are owners. So as a Black tech female owner, I make up 0.5%, which is a penny. That motivates me to stay in this industry and continue to break glass ceilings and bring more women and minorities into IT. So the mission of helping people secure their financial dreams and bringing a more diverse, inclusive platform and integration to IT is what motivates me every day and gets me out of bed.
Great. That's awesome. That's awesome. So we're going to wrap up here. I got, just the final thing, what advice do you have? You have any final advice for folks that are, looking to start or have started, and maybe things are challenging, or maybe things are going great, So, what kind of final advice might you want to share?
Yeah. Ask for help. Just do it. Leap. I think Martin Luther King said leap, and take a step and the staircase will present itself. If you leap, that net will be there for you. Just don't be afraid. Believe in yourself and surround yourself with people that believe in you and that are going to fuel you with positivity and support and assistance. And I believe and know in my heart you will be successful just like we are. And as Zig Ziglar always said, I'll see you at the top.
Right. Absolutely. So, well, thank you for this. This has been great. I've been excited to, interact with you and things as we've gone along, but this has been great today. I'm getting know a little bit more about the backstory and the future story and where you're trying to go. So I know I appreciate this. And on behalf of the Small Business Development Center, we appreciate everything you're doing, and we want to wish you the best of luck. And as we're always here to help you and support you as you need it. So we look forward to that. And also I want to thank everybody who's participated today and is interested in some of these stories. We will be doing this, like I said, every month. So look to the second Thursday of next month. We'll have this up. Everything is on our website that you can check out. And if there is anything we as a Small Business Development Center can do to support you in your business journeys, we are more than happy to do that. And with that, we'll go ahead and close this edition of Small Business Spotlight, and look forward to seeing everyone again very soon. Thank you.